Peace.
Welcome back, guys. We're at part 2 for. So you want more casual sex, Glenn? Or do you want an LTR? Where guys, most guys mess up, They get real judgmental. They want that sex, but they get real judgmental and start throwing those expectations out right away. They want to lock that hot poon down. Let's get at part 2. What do you say?
Let's do it.
If you've done your job right and she's done all of that stuff, you could catch feelings. But here's the thing. Because of the cardinal rule, you hold all the power in the relationship. Therefore, you need her the least. So it should be relatively easy for you to set it up in the fashion you want. Most men can have a very, very good friend with a benefit. And when you have a friend with a benefit, here's the thing. Is she going to be your main plate? You might test it for a minute, but there's no possibility. The older you get, the less that becomes an issue. But
why is that?
No kids. You're past that prime, the older for her, the older for you. And it's less of an issue. It's more of an issue of what does she bring to you in status? Does she enhance your presence, your problem solving, your prosperity? Does she add to your power and influence through her connections? Those sort of things are kind of more important at that point. But at that point, you really don't need it's going to be hard for her to ask that unless you've been a really damn good dom and now you have conditioning to set your expectations any way you want. You want to be more in my life, then you're going to tolerate potentially other women in my life that might have more potential than you. That's where it's going to be. And you'd be surprised if she's asking you that and she has that kind of checkered past, she's going to be okay with it. It's not even going to be a problem. She may be a casual sex friend for a very long time. And that I know many people that have had that, and it's always been pretty equitable until the point where, it comes into the normal play of things where people develop expectations that are not clearly set. And, it's funny because guys that are like in that stronger, dominant, submissive scene tend to set pretty good expectations. And from my experience, they stay friends for many years, whether they continue with their sexual friendship. Sometimes no, sometimes they just talk and it
becomes more platonic.
It does over time. I've seen that happen too. And then, occasionally
I know guys
they just hit it off, but that's rare.
I've known guys that were the girl's dom, and as that end up coming to an end, that guy ends up being the guy that introduces this girl to her husband.
I've seen that too.
And it be smooth and cool as shit. Like, well, the guy doesn't really end up knowing. The guy that marrying her
just be happy the dom doesn't make that call.
No, yeah, he doesn't.
Play if you need to come home.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I would fear in my girl more than the body count. Far more than the body count. Is if her second guy was a pro dom and they were together for 3 years. That would be a problem. That'd be more of a problem than 30 bodies.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because a lot of guys are also consumed with the number. And when we talk about body count, we understand why a high body count is something to be concerned about when it's coming to
emotional attachment.
Yeah. But they don't understand the other side of the coin that could be detrimental to them too as well. Like the girl could have only a few bodies. She could have 5 body count.
And she could be alpha widowed. That's a problem too, which kind of lends into that dom issue.
Yep, exactly. She could have had a Thor in her past that has now become the standard of every man she ends up meeting, and every guy falls short. And she's only had 5 guys. And Thor is the one that she is still measuring everybody to. That girl could be more, problematic than a girl that has 40 bodies of guys of, average, experience. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So how would you so it's not even so much the number as in it's the imprint. It's the imprint the guy have made. That's really the issue than the actual number. And so when you look at it that way, when you're looking at it as because let's face it, nobody, if they're going into an LTR or wanting an LTR, is going to get a girl that is a virgin, that has a very low body count, that hasn't done probably some wild shit in her past, that's not what it is anymore. And that's a reality guys need to, accept. And the guys need to realize that this girl's going to come with some experience that you may not have experienced yourself. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. And there is a way to overcome that alpha widowing body count, inability to really bond. And that is as a lot more work, but boy, there is conditioning that goes with that BDSM lifestyle, pro dom sub, if she's willing to do all that sort of stuff over time, and a willing participant, consensual, of course. I've seen those gals get so focused because what ends up happening is they play on natural tendencies, instinctual tendencies for protection and security and guidance, because in guidance and discipline and order becomes a lot of security, and there's a lot of fulfillment there. Structure. When you couple that sexually to trigger that chemistry, this is how some of those sexual cults get so powerful as well. And they only reinforce it occasionally with sex, sometimes even rarely, and it's super powerful mentally. And when they get to that level, that bond's pretty damn strong. It doesn't matter how many bodies there were, she's going to do anything they say. They've had some of these cult leaders or guys that understood how to do this conditioning. I mean, talk women into killing other people.
Yeah.
Or even having sex with other people are the most bizarre, benign things, because they played on these innate inbuilt instincts and push them to a certain level with the conditioning. Many would call it abusive, and in some cases it is abusive in nature because they're playing on an instinct over and over again. But done in a safe environment, a consensual environment, it could create a very strong and fulfilling bond. And you don't have to look very far to see that is entirely possible. So when it is much more rare. And if you're a young guy looking for an LTR, here's the thing. Don't look there. If you're an experienced man and you already know this, that's not what you're looking for. If you want to have a family and leave a legacy, you need to look for something a little more naive. You're looking for a submissive, a feminine innocence. And, with a large number of bodies, that innocence isn't really going to be apparent. It's not going to be readily accessible up front. And so you want that to be readily accessible so that you could combine that with your dominant masculine presence and form a union to where it's very fulfilling for both parties over the course of time. And you can have children and you can raise them to see how you see fit. It kind of falls into a lot of traditional conservative. Seems to be very successful in that way, although that's not the only way. You can look across the world. That's not the only way. It's just in our culture that seems to be where most people land.
Well, it's been the most successful means of reproduction and
one man, one woman, but culturally there are differences in how they raise their children.
Here's the question though, because this is a good, interesting topic. Do you want casual sex or do you want a girlfriend? Right. And I think the guys tend to go in that approach the same.
Exactly.
And that's where they tend to really set themselves up for failure.
They do. What they end up doing is dating. They date and they go exclusive, which is weird because this has resulted in a dating culture that after a date or two, it's now an exclusive. I'm dating. Well, what does that mean? Oh, are you exclusive? Yeah. Well, no, to me, being exclusive isn't dating. That's girlfriend, boyfriend.
That's a relationship. Yeah.
Yet when you hear it in context of dating coaches today, particularly with the females, to them, dating is they've made it acquiring a boyfriend right after the second or third date by making an exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And guys jump right at this very, very quickly. They're willing to lock down very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And, anything to get it. I'll be your boyfriend. Yeah, absolutely. And really that creates a lot of animosity because it doesn't last very long. The girls feel betrayed because they got an exclusive commitment, but they really never had that. They need to understand that dating is dating non-exclusive. By nature, dating is non-exclusive. Mm-hmm. It's the screening and courting process to find the best possible mate if that's what you want. If what you want is sex, dating is an end to, it's a means to an end to find someone that's sexually compatible with you. And you don't do that by keeping the sex talk secret.
No, yeah, yeah, and I think that's another. It's interesting that you mentioned that, like, because when I mentioned the guys come at this the same approach. So I had a guy message me on Reddit, actually yesterday. He asked me, he gave me a question of his. He goes, "So I'm, seeing this girl, we're just dating, non-exclusively, right? And, you know, and well, she doesn't know, but I'm banging a bunch of chicks on the side, so like, that's just kind of how it is. But, tell me this, why am I like really jealous of the fact that, and concerned about her on her girls' night out with her girlfriends, in Vegas? Why am I, wanting to call her and check up on her during this weekend trip? Should am I just jealous? Am I just being insecure? I was like, well, dude, no, it's not any of that. What it is you are mate guarding. Whether or
Yep.
not you consider it as you guys are not exclusive, you are
He's
more
catch-
emotionally invested
He's
than
catching
you
feelings.
are. Yes, you are
And you
more
can't help
emotionally
it.
invested in her than you
You
are
can't help it.
actually thinking you are.
I think by the time you go 3 months, you're going to catch feelings.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're just going to, guys. You got to realize that's what's going to happen. Even if you're dating and dating multitude, the cream will rise to the top.
Oh yeah.
If you're fortunate to date more than one person, you may even run into the count your lucky stars if you ever have the horrible dilemma of you like 2 or 3 of them the same.
Like yeah, like literally, like I
What a blessing. What a
I know
blessing.
a guy that literally would complain to me about how he is struggling because he's dating 3 girls and he's been dating them for the last couple years, and he knows that eventually he wants to get married, but he doesn't know to which one it is he wants to marry, because they're all fucking awesome in his eyes and they're all a little different, and it just makes it even that much more unique. And he goes, I don't know who I'm gonna marry.
Well,
and I'm like,
you want to know the secret?
I was like, dude, are you complaining about having options? Some guys can't even get a girlfriend. You got 3 of them. Shut the fuck up.
You realize that when the girls are into you, they'll change their religion for you.
Yep.
You know that certain religions allow up to 4 wives.
That's called genuine desire.
Certain religions allow for up to 4 wives.
Yes.
It's legitimate.
Yes, that's true.
There are rules around it, but anyways, that's more than the options that he has. He has more than the options he thinks he has.
Oh yeah, I know. But I was just like, it's funny hearing him complain about something that most men would die to have as a fantasy.
Yeah, that's extremely rare in reality.
And again, because it kind of goes to the way that men approach dating. As you alluded to earlier, you said earlier that girls tend to want to make the commitment happen within a short time, and guys are so eager to jump at it and make that commitment that
they have to, because their agency is actually very perishable.
Yes, but it's more of a fear point of view from a guy's standpoint, right? If I don't act on it now, if I don't buy into this right now and make this commitment, then she could be gone, and I could lose my opportunity.
Yep.
And it's more, if that mindset is kind of tends to what sets them up for failure in the long run with this, when it comes to dating, as well as when it comes to finding an LTR or casual, because it's like guys tend to jump and commit overly too soon to girls at times that are not going to work out, and they're actually setting the girl up for more damage and failure than they realize in the long run.
Damn, I wonder if that would work for the escorts too. Only 4 hours left to buy at this price.
Hey, you know what?
Lock down now. Shit. Let me send you an email on it. Only 1 hour left at this price. Then it's gone forever.
I bet you it would work. I bet you it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, so how should guys approach this? Point out the main 2 things that guys need to have mentally when approaching casual sex, and approaching, girlfriend LTR. Like, what is the 2 different mindsets that they need to have in each pursuit?
Okay, so in my mind, it's almost going to be the same. You're still going to approach with no judgment initially. You have to get past that wall. You got to discover who she is. So you're going to do the same things. And you should absolutely move the conversation when you have interest to sex as fast as you can in a very playful manner. You need to set that example that it's important to you for the any relationship to form. Whether it's casual sex, you find out that she's a big 304 and you're just your swing buddies or whatever it is. And then maybe you find out that, you know what, I kind of found a kind of an elegant person here that's a little more classy than I expected. Let's find out more. You did yourself no harm by not bringing any judgment up front. And that's where a lot of guys make some mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're violating any of your boundaries to do that. By having no judgment and broadcasting at them doesn't mean that you don't cast judgment. You just keep it to yourself. And it doesn't violate any of your own boundaries. You're not being asked to violate any of your own boundaries as a man. That's not what this is. This is kind of like not disclosing everything. You're not going to disclose it. You're going to play the game. You're going to let her discover. And, and if that's important to you for an LTR, she's going to discover that her past is a big factor. Most likely she will fall into that, casual friend situation and drift out. And she might even be an avenue to one of her girlfriends to use. That is one of those classier, elegant ladies. And if you treat her right, guess what? She might actually help you
open that door.
And you guys can understand that's the value of those social networks. You don't destroy every bridge you burn down. I can go back to many exes and still speak with them. And, let me just put it this way. When my current wife was injured, they showed up to the hospital to help. All of them.
I can't do that with my exes, but the girls that I was casual with in my past and, established it as just us being casual. And that kind of was our thing. I could call any one of them up and be fucking cool and, have a great conversation, in that sense. And I have a few friends that I, have done that with in the past, and we still communicate, from time to time, just socially. And with there's no ill feelings. Like I know they're married. I know they're, have kids now. And
it's kind of it's a cool human connection that you don't have to sacrifice it. All relationships run their course.
Yeah.
And you have to burn that bridge down.
Exactly. Not everything needs to be scorched earth after the end of something.
It's funny though, that when I do, like I had the crew out there, a lot of them did view all of it as scorched earth.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
If that didn't work. Right.
And it doesn't even have to be that. And guys tend to sometimes get too extreme from one end to the other. But I like the thought that you did mention that you just kind of approach it the same in the beginning, and you approach it with non-judgmental, and you're right. You don't need to tell them what you don't like and what you do like so overtly. They will pick that up in interaction with you.
And if she's taking the power from the relationship, let her walk. And I'll tell you why. Because when you have that power, you stay friends. When she has that power, she tells her next boyfriend or guy that she's dating, what a shitheel you were.
Yep.
It's just how it works. But if you had the power and you dictated the terms, and you always did when she tried to take it, she's going to speak more highly of you because you held on to what was good. You didn't have to get emotional. Even if you caught feelings, you don't have to do that.
Here's something I want to bring up to the guys that'll end up listening to this. Okay, guys, you guys are going out, right? And you want to hook up with you want to get some casual fun, right? And you meet this girl, non-judgmental. You have a great night. You end up taking her home. You end up banging her brains out, right? And you end up doing it all weekend long. Monday comes around, you guys part your ways. You guys chit-chat, text occasionally, and now it becomes a regular thing. And you keep her as a plate, and you're doing that with other girls as well, and you loving it. That's life. But then you then judge the same girls that you were having all this fun with, and calling them 304s and hoes because of their body count or how easily they gave it to you, when that was what you wanted them to do anyways. So
I wouldn't do it. Just don't do it. There's no need. Exactly. They know. Why do you have to do it?
Exactly. So don't take it there. Like, don't.
You don't have to.
if you want to have casual fun, then you have to know that at some point in life, the girl that you actually end up getting with was somebody else's casual fun.
Yeah, that is true. And if you're going to do that sort of, I just can't imagine doing it because you just ask yourself to get your car keyed and all those stupid little silly emotional things. Whereas, if you set those boundaries up front and you do all of those things, and I mean, your chances of that going south that quickly isn't going to happen. And if you do run into a BPD, she's going to try to take that power through manipulation and gaslighting.
Yep.
That won't cut through those expectations because you already set them. And she's going to realize she got to go to greener pastures very, very quickly. And the hot and the crazy matrix, when you do that, is going to screen herself out to somebody else very quickly because she's just going to go to greener pastures. It's too hard.
Yeah. And so so when we're talking about like body count and stuff, because we do talk about it a lot in this space and it comes up in conversations. My whole thing is like there's an importance to it. There is some significance to it, but it's not the end all and be all. And like how I just said earlier, like, the girl that you end up settling down with was somebody else's casual fun at this point, and when you realize that, you wanted the girl that was your casual fun to give it to you and you enjoyed that. You have to realize, your girl or your wife was somebody else's casual fun at one point. So what's the issue here? The issue cannot be so much about this number or whatever her experience. There does have to play a factor in, understanding that even if she told you what some small low number, that actually may not ever really
don't ask, gentlemen. Don't ask.
That's it.
Here's
Guys
the thing.
do that so much.
If you ask, you're going to be judgmental no matter what. Don't be that stupid dummy. And here's the thing. You're going to create circular thinking about shit that happened in the past. I'll just tell you this. That is a self-feeding cycle that will screw you to death. Be in the moment. If you're after the casual fun, it's not even a big deal. Anyway, if you are looking for an LTR, you're going to screen that early on and where you're not trapped. A lot of guys get trapped and they don't figure that out early. And then they do a lot of circular thinking about it and it eats them up and they cause more problems than it's worth. They could have just moved on and actually had a relatively reasonable relationship by investing in novelty, fun, conditioning, playing the game. But no, they got into petty jealousies and the sex dries up. She starts to monkey branch out. He's paranoid over silly shit. And then she goes on girls' nights out because he is like that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that you need to avoid. If it's your worst fear because you didn't address it and it's what you're focusing on, guess what you focus on most comes to pass. So you got to be aware of those things. Now, that doesn't mean you can't, if you have a problem, you don't address it. But you focus on the solutions, not the problem. We run into young men all the time. They focus on the problem so much they can't get to the solutions, and the solutions take action, and they can't get past it because they want to think about the problem. I had this one young guy. It was really a part of my crew. He was a good guy, but he's hyper emotional, and he got locked into the place in a relationship where she was terrible, but she could do no wrong because he had that strong need to protect her and protect his judgment that he made the right decision in picking her as a girlfriend. And yet it was so blatantly obvious what a pile of crap he had going there. And yet he fought it all the way to the end to protect his ego. And what a nightmare that guy went through. Oh my God. I mean, talk about rock bottom, start drinking all kinds of shit to not just face the fact earlier on that he fucked up and needed to let it go. And then after it was done and said for months, he started rethinking about shit he could have done differently. Now he created this tremendous problem in his life.
Yeah.
So be careful.
I got a question for you. Okay. And this kind of has to do with and we're going to wrap it up shortly after this, but I kind of want to bring back the body count or the sex conversation again, because I just thought of this, and tell me if you agree. So when it comes to sex and body count, it's not so much the number is an issue. it's the behavior and the how what they protrude or display, and the you know the over sexualizing things, or the over promiscuity and behavior that actually really is the problem, not so much the actual fact that they may have had a lot of experiences. I think there's a difference between the two, possibly, because I know girls that are had very low body counts but acted really slutty in public to kind of give off the impression that they were that girl, right? And really were more like the church girl, but they portrayed this image to get the attention.
Yeah,
And
more
so
attention whores. Yeah.
it's like, could that be an issue, a factor, like, for guys, like, hey, don't really understand, yeah, the number's the thing, but really watch how she moves more.
How does
How
she
does she?
add? The real question is, how does she add to her countenance?
Yeah,
If she's had a lot of body, she's going to know she has a lot of options. You got more work to do to convince her that your options are far better than hers. That's what it boils down to in order to maintain that power balance. If you're going to make it LTR, if she doesn't, and she acts like you said, if she's an attention whore, but she has very few bodies, you're kind of up against the same thing.
exactly. That's what I was kind of getting at. It's like, you're in this case, you're faced with the same issue. Now, here's the thing though: if a girl had a whole lot of bodies, but actually really is into you, she really is bought into you, right? And don't be so quick to dismiss her because of her bodies as well, right? Kind of, you know, watch how she moves, watch her behavior, watch how she interacts on social media. Does she, is she attention seeking? Or is she really bought into you and wanting to make sure that you are pleased, and she's, you see what I'm saying? Like, do you factor that in? Is that could that be a thing that kind of separates?
Well, I'd have to speculate based on experiences of others, because that certainly has not happened to me. So is it possible that they buy into you so heavily that that's it for you now? I would say it is, but I would say that the likelihood of it is, not very often. And it
Okay.
would really depend. I mean, it's going to happen to an older guy that is in full control of his life, and she is, and she enhances his status in some way. He's older. She's
Mhm.
pretty enough, regardless of the bodies. She adds to his status when he's public or social. A porn star would not do that. Someone that's unknown and that can conceal that is much more valuable, even if it's not her real life.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes with that. Is it possible? Yeah, I suppose it is. But
Or is it also maybe what kind of relationship you want? Like, are you somebody that wants to have kids? You
in
know?
the reality of it is she is going to settle. She is going to take herself out of that mix.
Mhm.
You need for us to speculate that the guy says, oh yeah, she's showing she's number one, you kind of give away your power. I don't recommend that. You have the power to say no, she's going to remain my side girl.
Yeah.
But you're going to tell her you don't judge her, but it is what it is. It's so funny because at the older I get, the less important that really is.
That's what I'm trying
I've
to
done
kind
I've
of.
done my family time. I've done all that stuff. To me, it would be so less important. Should I lose my LTR right now? It just wouldn't be important to me. But then again, I'm in a different circumstance. For a younger man, say I wanted to continue that family, and she's not going to be it. She's going to be my fun. We might have fun. We might ride motorcycles together. We might go to special events that she likes to go to, that I like to go to. It's going to be one of those things where it's an even exchange, shall we
Yeah.
say. And she may catch feelings. In fact, better if she does, because it gives me the power to set even better expectations. And these aren't hollow expectations. It's
No.
just
Yeah.
they are what they are up front. So she knows what she's getting. I don't have to produce anything other than that. I don't have to produce a family. I don't have to produce anything.
I think that's another factor you guys need to figure out and realize too. Like, what kind of relationship do you want if you're looking for an LTR? Are you looking for a future with kids, or are you wanting just someone to, you know, be your, you know, be there with you and experience life and go, you know, do life shit together? You
Okay,
know,
so
like,
if I'm a young guy and I want an LTR right now and I want it to be more traditional, I'm not staying here. I'm going to get a
oh,
mobile
okay.
job and I'm leaving the country. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but the odds are better for me. And guess what? The clock is ticking for me too as a guy. And if I want to do that and I want to watch my kids grow and I want to create that empire and I want to have my 4 kids and my 12 grandkids, yeah, I'm either going to go south and look at some of those gals that are very traditionally oriented that don't have many bodies and they're willing to be that feminine, that submissive feminine innocence. Heck, I'm willing to have that. There's plenty of places to go where they would jump at the chance, and I wouldn't bring them back here. I
Oh,
would actually
absolutely not.
expatriate.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
would have to. If you would have to keep that keep her from being toxified from the Western women culture.
Yeah,
But that's
and
what I kind
and
of think.
myself
Like,
not really being a Christian, I might even consider some of the other countries that are leaning more towards the Islamic nature, things like
mhm.
that. I'm not really sure about that yet, but they seem to be much more
Because I always
amicable
just
to
thought
men's
about it like,
nature.
you know, I think about it like what kind of you know, when I think about it like, okay, you know what, you could get a girl with a whole bunch of big bodies and it could work out as long as you're not trying to have kids or, you know, establish a family type of traditional life. If you just want to have someone that's wild and have fun and, you know, keep things exciting for you while you know, stay childless and that's your goal, then I think, you know, you may want to have somebody that's a little more adventurous or a little more experienced and not so traditional, right?
Well, you could, unless you got resources like Elon Musk. You can always give him a parting gift. What's he up
That
to?
is
10
true.
kids now? Who's the real alpha? He's got 10. I got 4.
Nick Cannon, I think the Nick Cannon, the rapper and
Yeah.
Mariah Carey's ex-husband, I think he has 11 now. So I
Yeah.
think he outdid you and
Elon
Elon.
Musk.
Yeah.
I think Elon Musk is giving parting gifts away to the girls he likes, regardless of their history. He just
Well,
looks at them as genetic stock.
we do know that he definitely hooked up Amber Heard after they broke up,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
A
But
couple others too, I guess.
so we're wrapping it up right here.
Yep.
Let's put a bow on this real quick, like a 2-minute bow. So when it comes to deciding whether you want casual sex or a girl that's an LTR relationship, you know, the approach in the beginning is relatively the same.
Yes.
Okay, guys, it's first you want to kind of get that attraction and that interest. All right. And then from there, once you established you got that, that's when you start, you know, inserting your boundaries and maybe not so much overtly communicating what you don't want or what you do want, but just by implementing your boundaries and through conversation, you could determine whether or not this girl is the girl for you without asking her too many questions that may come off judgmental. Is that right, Thor?
Yeah, I would even take it a step further, at least from my experience of watching many, many, many others. I would push for that. I would push when there's interest, to get into the sex talk before you even talk about boundaries, because, honestly, if you can get to the point where there's a lot of passion and validational sex, which occur with even women who have high body count. Once you get that validational, passionate sex with them, the brain chemistry is very different and it's very open. There's flow states and things like that we're only starting to scratch the surface of. But once you have that, you hear that honeymoon phase, and that can exist for any woman very quickly. And that is probably the best place to start setting those boundaries, right after 1 or 2 sessions like that. And not even so much boundaries. I wouldn't even say it like that. I would say it as expectations for how the relationship will move.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's a good way to say it. Not
And that
boundaries,
way you don't come off
expectations.
as some sort of domineering, controlling asshole that I got my list. Here's my list. My list is this, you're fit, you're friendly, you're feminine and available for sex. Boom. There's no, that's fine. That's it. And you know what? If I'm looking at her and talking with her, Glenn, she's already met all the criteria except the last one. Right?
Yep.
Just don't
Absolutely.
overcomplicate it and start talking about, my need to become emotionally available in order to have
Oh
sex. That's
God.
only a
Yeah.
woman thing.
Yeah. I think that you're right. Guys, when it comes down to it, keep it kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, you guys, like it doesn't need to be difficult. Keep it simple, stupid. And realize that every girl that you meet has been somebody else's casual fun. And when you accept that, your approach to everything is a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying?
That sounds good. Until next time, guys, let's end it here. Chat with you later. Skull.
Peace.